All right, now this is going to be a little bit longer of an episode because we got a lot to cover. Now, we're going to talk about many different types of pricing strategies. We're going to walk through our pricing, and we're going to look at historically our pricing. So if you look, we started shooting weddings, and when we started, I started at $500 for a wedding, which then led to $1,500 for a wedding, and then if you look, then led to $3,500, and now we start at around $5,500 and book $11,000 clients, and have had clients book $17,000 for their wedding collection and artwork with us. Now, I know some of you won't be up there automatically, but I want to help you get there, and understanding psychology and why somebody will book you for that is what's going to help you to get there from where we were charging $500 a wedding into now charging over $15,000 per wedding. So we're going to talk about three main sections, but there's going to be points within the section. But number one is psychology behind pricing. Number two is pull through. And number three is addressing pain points. Now, when we look at the market, what we want to do is research the market. But don't put too much stock in it because pricing is based off of four things. One, skill. This is why it's so important to always be honing your craft in obscurity. Two, experience. The more you shoot, the more you can charge because you're also building your portfolio and it becomes a stronger portfolio and it helps you to stand apart. Number three, education. This is huge. When you invest into yourself, you're investing into your business. Education helps you to get to where you want to be and allows you to grow quicker, which leads to more money. And what I often see is people not increasing their price after they've learned more or done more education. Just like somebody would give somebody more money and a salary if they get a master's degree, if you're growing and learning more about your craft, you should be getting paid more for it. And number four, demand. If more people want you, that means the higher likelihood of people paying more for you. So raise your prices and people will pay for it. Now, I think a lot of times I get a little nervous when it comes to doing that, but if there's a high demand, somebody's gonna pay for it. So make sure if you have a high demand, make sure that you are raising your prices more and more because then you'll start to price yourself out of the people that can't afford you, but into the people that do. Just for example, like I had at least 3 or 4 Major League Baseball players come to me last year and were ready to pay whatever I wanted. But instead, last year, I took some clients before that weren't my idea and actually ended up booking me on the lower end than those other people would have. If I would have raised my prices, wouldn't have had to worry about that. Now I raise my prices and I don't have to worry about that. I would also suggest 3 metrics when raising your prices. 1, every 3 to 5 weddings, raise your prices by $300 to $500 until you reach your cap, which we talked about previously. 2, if people are continuously booking your top collection, that's an indication that your work is accepted across the board. The market is approving that you are worth the price that you charge, which I've also talked about. And 3, if you know your numbers and how many weddings you need to live, check out the pricing sheet, which we'll talk about in another video. You can take risks and raise your prices to see if people are going to book you or not. So in essence, get to that minimum that you need to live off of, then start raising your prices a little bit more or dramatically to see if people book you. That's a great way to start raising your prices as well. Now let's talk about the psychology behind pricing and how you should price it. So we're going to look at 2 main ways to do it. 1 is a la carte pricing and 2, comparative pricing. Now, a la carte, this is when you have your prices individualized by items within a price sheet. And so we know some people that this has worked for. We know that people have booked $20,000 weddings by using a la carte pricing. So the good thing is you can really get big spenders. Some clients get everything added on and then it adds up really quickly. And then they go, oh, well, I'll just pay for it because it's what they've wanted. They've picked exactly what they wanted and the price is what the price is. And if they want it, they're going to do that. Now, the bad is not enough people are going to go high to make up the profit margin in between, and a lot of people are just going to stick to the bare minimum. You could also make a lot more if you were just to package it. There's a lot more friction in the a la carte system. It's like a la carting a car, even though that's what they do. They sell packages, or like you could try to a la carte it and then those numbers add up quickly and it creates some friction. And so it's simple to justify a single upgrade, but then a bunch of upgrades, not quite so much. And so someone would buy the deluxe or the luxury edition rather than starting at the base and adding things at $1,000 each. And because when you put at a price point on everything, it hits them every time they add something. And there's a relief when they take something out. So they're like, oh my gosh, this is getting added, and that price point, they're like, wow. And then when they take something off, they're like, oh, that's a little bit cheaper, I can deal with that. Now, the second is comparative pricing, which is what we suggest. This is essentially collection pricing, which is what we're used to, and I think that a lot of people pretty much do. Now, when you do comparative pricing, 3 collections is important. Not 4 or 5 or 2, but 3. You put too many options in there, people get paralyzed, right? Paralysis by analysis. You do too little, you only have a large and small option. So you will have people that want to take away from the top collection or just go with the bottom, and they seldom add $500 to $1,500 worth to that collection to make it reach that top collection, which is why we suggest you add that third middle collection. 3 is always the magic number. So putting a premium product near a standard one gives people a sense of value. Studies show the cheap option is ignored almost every single time. And so as you see here, what we do is we have our top collection, which is our home run collection. You know, this one has everything in it. And then we have our middle collection, which is the essentials. And I would say about 80% of our clients stick here. And then we have our lower collection, which nobody has ever in the history of my business ever gotten, because we've always used the 3 collections. There's also something called the left digit effect. This is a well-tested and overwhelmingly effective when it comes to sales and sales methods. What you want to do is reduce the left digit by 1, so you always end up with a 9. It makes something seem less than it is. Because the left digit starts with a 4, right? It doesn't seem like it's $5,000 collection when it drops to $49,999 or $49,999, whatever. It drops into a lower band or category. So what you're actually doing is dropping to the very top of that lower band. So you're actually only losing $1, but you are psychologically in that lower band for them. Okay, and so that is super important. Another thing to consider is what's called prestige pricing strategy. So what you're doing here is you're adding value to the discounted package. So people see this and they're encouraged to spend more because they say, oh, okay, this is what the value of this collection is, and this is all I'm spending. When you do this, this means that you've put the prices in everything, like put everything you offer in that a la carte pricing, add it up, and then you say, this is the value of this collection. So then what you have to do, and what's important, is actually adding everything that you include in your collections into your a la carte pricing section and give that a price. So when they try to add it up themselves, they go, oh, it's a no-brainer for me to get the collection. Now, this next one is probably the most key thing when doing comparative pricing. It's the top-down method. This is a huge mistake that I see people make when putting collections together. Your packages have to, they have to, or you'll be shooting yourself in the foot, have to go from most expensive to cheapest. Think about it this way. Someone comes to your site and they see our cheapest collection first, and then they see the next collection and it's like a shot in the gut. They're like, oh man, that's a lot more expensive. Then they see the last one, which is our highest collection, and they go, no way, there's no way I could possibly do that, right? But if you go from the highest first, then they see the highest one and they go, oh man, that's pretty darn high. I had a girl a couple days ago go, I can't get your Royal collection because I'm not Kate Middleton, right? She's like, I'm sorry, I'm not her. But then the middle collection, she went with that easy because they go from the top collection, then they go to the middle collection and they go, oh, this isn't nearly as bad, and I still get all that. And then what always happens, I'll be talking to clients about this, and I'll get to that last collection, and they'll be like, and I'll say like, oh, and the boutique collection includes, and they go, no, we don't want that. That's okay. So that makes that last collection seem so basic, they don't even want it. They want something that has some sort of value to it. Now, if you don't do your collections like I do, if you don't go top down or on different pages, go left to right. And what you want to do is you want to pull all 3 of them on the same page, make your middle collection bigger, like physically larger on the page, because you want their eye to gravitate towards that middle one, and you don't want them to go straight to the right, which is what they'll end up doing as they go left to right, and they'll stick to the right. You want to point them directly to that middle one. Also, something to consider with these collections, keep them minimal. Don't put too much in them. I've seen people put all kinds of things in these collections and it has shot them in the foot. It's like if you go to a Louis Vuitton store, right? What happens is it's all empty. Like it's empty. It's very basic. They have one bag on the shelf at a time. They don't have like the whole lot, and you pull one off and it automatically moves to the forward. They have one of them and the pricing is right on it, and it is what it is. It's simple. Okay. And you want to do that. You want to make sure their selection is simple. And then also put the price at the end. What happens is they then emotionally connect to the things in the collection, and then they see the price. What happens when you put the pricing first is they become attached to that price, and then everything in there gets value added to it. Now, the second big thing when considering your collections is pull through. Okay, so anchor pricing. Anchoring relies heavily on the first piece of information offered when making a decision. So what we want to do is put a premium product near a standard one, and it gives people the sense of value like we talked about. consumers equate price with quality. And this was studied through diners at a New York City restaurant. The group of people all ate the same food at an Italian buffet, but some were charged $4 and the others were charged $8. Those who paid $8 found the meal to be much better and enjoyed the food much more than those who paid $4. The conclusion: expensive always equals good. People equate price with quality. So this is why people who can afford you sometimes won't book you, because they think something is wrong. So what you want to do is add in anchor products that really give that collection value. Okay, so a great way to stay safe in your pricing is by adding those pull-through items and experimenting with your pricing. The three main pull-through items are hours, second photographers, and high-resolution images. And other things that you can add on there are albums as well. So our top 2 collections have albums with them. Those are pull-through things. And then what you can do if you want is you can have a range where if you want to have people fit within your budget, they're like, hey, I want this, but not this. Some people say, nope, the collections are as they are, and that's totally okay. For us, I say, hey, we exchange time for time and product for product. So if they want an engagement session, or they don't want an engagement session and they want more hours, we can exchange that time for time, but you can't exchange something like more hours for an album. Now, if you are fine with doing that, you totally could do that as well, because then that's less money that you have to spend, which is more profit for you depending on how much you price your hours. So I'm okay with taking some things out of my top collection as long as what I take out of my top collection doesn't dip past my middle collection. What I will always also tell them is when they ask how much would it be to take this out, I say, well, you see in our a la carte collection, engagement sessions are $600. Well, since the collections are already so heavily discounted, to take out something would be I would take it out at a discounted rate. So instead of the $600 from the a la carte pricing of an engagement session, I will take that out at $250. And they go, okay, fine. So then I'm not losing $600, and they're only taking out $250, and that does not drop them into that bottom collection. So really easy. Those big ticket items you can use to draw people into the next collections, or just price them comparatively how you would like. A lot of clients ultimately don't know what they need, so you need to let them know what they need. And I like to do that in our initial meeting. You can actually check out in the client interactions section, that meeting. Now this is really funny. I'm gonna show you guys now the pricing that I have had historically, and we're gonna take a look at the things that I kind of did wrong in them, and how I've increased that and not done those things anymore and not gotten to where we are. So if we look at this first one, this was back when it was Devin Robinson Photography, and we can see I had 3 collections, and this was after I shot my first one for $500. I went $1,750, then to $2,000, then to $2,500. And one of the big things I did wrong here was that I only had like $250 to $500 in between each collection, because ultimately I'm not making these look less desirable, and so people will go with 3 because they don't see that much value, or they'll go with this one and I'm not making that much money in it. Also, things that I wouldn't suggest is going with a 11 by 14 print, because when you start to include prints into your collection, then what's happening is they think that's all they need in that collection. Next one here, you can see I went from 25 to 28 to 32. So same thing, I was not increasing my prices enough, but now if you go into my collections now, you see that I have 55, 67.50, and 10.5. And so there's a lot of room in between there for me. If somebody wants to go down a little bit, I'm still making a good amount of money, but if they book me just as they do, that's perfect. Now we're going to talk about the third and final thing, reducing pain points. Okay, so we want to make things package deals. This is how we shop now. We don't shop at a la carte pricings. You go to you get a car, you go to McDonald's. All of those things are package deals. What we don't want to do is create friction in people's normal buying habits. And so we eliminate that pain point by already keeping package deals. The second thing would be appealing to people's pleasures. All-day coverage for us alleviates the pain of worrying about a timeline. The album will, or I say things like, the album will allow you to remember these moments in tangible ways. The final product isn't a digital file. Or something like the online gallery will allow you to instantly access your images without having to mail a flash drive to mom. So we want to appeal to the pleasures of what people want. Like, we don't need to nickel and dime people. Like, we don't want to make it so that they feel like we are trying to make all the money we can from them. Right, there was an Amazon study one in Dan Ariely's, I think his name is, Ariely's book, Predictably Irrational. In the example, Amazon sales in France were drastically lower than all other European countries. The problem was the French orders had a 20-cent shipping charge tacked on versus free shipping everywhere else. one of the main reasons why we use Amazon is because of the free 2-day shipping, right? Amazon and France take a huge hit for doing that. Like, you build raving fans when they feel like you are giving them value instead of nickel and diming them. And so I tell people, I say, hey, I don't want to nickel and dime you off this. This is, you know, do whatever. Like, one thing I love to do is doing free prints for grandparents or people at the wedding that have passed away. Like, we had a client spend $9,000 for their collection and they wanted a $300 print credit rather than a $300 slideshow. Fine with me, right? That cost me $60 and I made $9,000 from that collection. One thing we also do is for grandparents or for people who pass away at the wedding, we send them the like 8x10s of every photo that grandparent is in, and that means the absolute world to them. They're going to cherish that forever. So we want to make sure we go above and beyond for them and not nickel and dime them. And one thing that we also do is say that our collections are at a discounted rate, which is why we put the a la carte pricing in there so they can see the pricing of everything compared to the collections. So a little goes a long way, and that even means like the names of your collections and how you present them, right? And so how you word the cost of the collection is huge. Trial rates for a DVD subscription, I don't know what this is, but I assume it's Netflix, increased by 20% when the messaging was changed from a $5 fee to a small $5 fee. When you say there's a small travel fee, that's much different, right? Like when we say this collection is only this price, that's a huge difference. Now, one of the big things we also don't do, which I talk about, and if you want to download this template, we don't send collections as PDFs. That is a big no. We don't want anybody to pinch to zoom. We don't want them to have to download it. We don't want them to have to, like, even some work emails don't accept downloading PDFs. So we want to make sure that we embed that into our site, or we have like some kind of show it link or make it a website like page, whatever you can possibly do. That's what you want to do. If you want to download the show it template we have in the download section, you can do that. Now, one of the last things, make sure you drop the comma. Okay, researchers found that prices that contain more syllables seem drastically higher to consumers. So 2,000 with the comma, $499, or 6,599 with a comma seems way more expensive than $2,499 or $6,500. So keep the comma out of it. And lastly, when it comes to this, one thing we talk about with retainers is I want to make the barrier to entry as low as I possibly can. So before, when our collections were about $3,500, whatever, I said, hey, the retainer fee is $1,000, not 50%, because they have to come up with a huge chunk of money now and later. I say, hey, it's $1,000, and the remaining balance is due 2 weeks prior to the event date. Now my collections are the way they are, and I say $2,000. The remaining balance is due prior to the event date. But the great thing is it's 2019, so everything is done online. We can actually break it up for you, and you can pay over the next year if you'd like. And I say my highest collection every time. I say, so if you wanted to go with the Royal collection, I also say, which some people do, so they see that other people do it as well. It's socially accepted. I say, so let's say you want to go with the Royal collection, which other people do. What you could do is take that price and divide it over the next year. And we're kind of like people's bills. They pay us monthly. We're like water, electricity, anchor, and veil. And they laugh about that. And so it's a really great way to be able to lower the barrier to entry while still making sure you get paid. So I know that's a lot of information, a lot to take in. But if you guys have any questions, you need anything from me, don't hesitate to let me know, because pricing is important. And if you can understand the philosophy behind it or the psychology behind it, then you will absolutely kill it. So if you need anything, don't hesitate to let me know.